What's up? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here and being subbed. If you're not, hit the button, and if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into this holy mess. What is up, guys? Listen, let's just go ahead and get into this, because when I heard this story, I said I have got to talk about this. So if you're not familiar with Kenneth Copeland, he actually, I believe, is one of the wealthiest evangelical preachers in this country. I believe his net worth is close to a billion. The man, his family, they're like set for life. And I don't even know how many more years he has of life on this side, but he's under fire after it was recently revealed that an elderly woman gave her entire life savings to his ministry, and it wasn't something that she really meant to do, and wanted to get the money back, and she was rejected. And so people are saying that this is just another example of the dark side of evangelical preachers, televangelism, even Christianity. Some people just saying this is the so-called prosperity gospel that is poisonous. And I want to talk about this. I'm going to share this video, but before I do that, I want to share a little bit of background about Kenneth Copeland. You can see the crazed eyes here and him pointing his finger. And if you want to know who he's pointing to, he's actually pointing to a woman that came up to do a little quick impromptu interview about a private jet that he purchased from Tyler Perry. So before we get into that, let's get into the why of why he purchased a jet and can't fly commercial. Okay, so this interview was something that he did several years ago. I don't even know when this was, but on these Christian networks, some of these people, they have their own shows, and this was something where he was doing interviews with other pastors or whoever. And this guy across from him is another televangelist. I cannot remember his name at the moment. I know it just because I'm talking about it right now is why I can't even recall it. But they're talking about flying on commercial planes versus flying private.
Keep your mouth shut. Don't talk to him unless he talks. Because when he's on a meeting, he doesn't talk to anybody but God. Now, Oral used to fly airlines. Right. But even back there then, man, it got to the place where it was agitating his spirit. Sure. People coming up to him. He had become famous, and they wanting him to pray for him and all that. You can't manage that today. Right. This dope-filled world. Right. And get in a long tube with a bunch of demons. Right.
He's calling people demons. So is this how he views the people that goes to his church? Because listen, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but don't people fly planes? So he's saying he is describing a plane, a commercial airplane. You get in a long tube filled with a bunch of demons, right? So he's calling people demons. And then when he's confronted about it later, which I'm going to play that video clip, because he was asked that question, he's trying to spin it to make it seem like, no, the people are filled with demons. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm definitely not calling this man Jesus by any stretch of the imagination, is he? But when Jesus was here on this earth, wasn't he going around praying for people, laying hands on people, and expelling people who were filled with demonic spirits? If you believe that, but you're saying, no, I need to be separated from them because these planes are filled with a bunch of demons. And then prior to that, if you heard that little clip where he talked about Oral Roberts, he was talking about another pastor who's been dead for a long time, but he talked about how, he had become famous. And so he had to start flying on private planes or private jets because he had become famous. So you have all of these people coming up to him wanting to be prayed for. What's wrong with that? wanting to be prayed for, not coming up to him asking for an autograph, asking for a picture, asking for money, asking for prayer. That's too much of a problem. But let's continue.
Right. That's exactly.
And it's deadly.
And it works on your heart. It really does.
So anyway, I wanted to make that clear so the devil can't lie to you and say, see there, them preachers spending all that money just fat cats riding.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Fat cats riding high on private jets. And your reason for doing it is absolutely ridiculous. But let's continue. So here he is being confronted by a reporter who had some questions for him about the private jet purchase and him saying God wanted him to have Tyler Perry's jet that was for sale.
God wanted him to have Tyler Perry's jet.
We'd just like to ask you about why you don't want to fly commercial. Why have you said that you won't fly commercial? You said that it's like getting into a tube with a bunch of demons.
If I flew commercial, I'd have to stop 65% of what I'm doing.
How much money did you pay for Tyler Perry's Gulfstream jet, for example?
Well, for example, that's really none of your business, but
Isn't it the business of your donors?
listen, I paid. You kind of caught me off guard here. Okay.
Certainly. Well, if you'd like to come out here, I'd like to give you a chance to catch your breath and have a conversation. We don't want to catch you off
I
guard.
love Inside Edition. You got to get this now. Hey, you listen to me? My wife thinks Inside Edition is, oh yeah.
Yeah, don't try to spin it. You caught me off guard. Duh.
Now, thank you, Lord. Help me. Let me pray.
Well, let me just ask you a really simple question. A lot of people think it's unbecoming for a preacher to live a life of luxury and to fly around in private jets. What's your response to that?
Very simple. It takes a lot of money to do what we do. We have brought over 122 million people to the Lord Jesus Christ.
Really?
Well, my question then, okay, all right, but I want to get to the demons because people are very concerned about that comment.
Give me a chance here, Inside Edition. I love your eyes.
Do you ever use your private jets to go visit your vacation homes, for example?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Again, getting back to the comment, you said that you don't like to fly commercial because you don't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood.
Look at this crazed lunatic. And did you see the finger shaking, pointing towards her? And that is exactly what he said. I mean, I just played the clip of what he said prior to this. So yeah, let's go ahead and continue.
To those critics that say that a preacher should not be living a life of luxury, what is your response to that?
They're wrong. But when you go back to the Bible, it's full of wealth. And it's full of miracles and signs and wonders. And it's full of goodness. And it's full of meanness. It's just full of hell on earth. Those are the demons, not the people. I love the people.
Thank you so much for your time
What's your
today. Lisa Guerrero.
Lisa?
All right. I'm not even going to play any more of this, but it's like the things that he's saying was absolutely ridiculous. And we're going to get into some more ridiculous things that he has said and done before I get into the clip of this story about him taking an old lady's life savings. All right. But him talking about the Bible is full of wealth, I'm not even going to disagree with him with that because I'm actually not of the belief that Jesus was poor, especially with him being the Son of God. Like the Bible says that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and them that dwell in it. And also, it talks about heaven and how illustrious it is and things like that. But I also am not going to sit here and say that you've become wealthy because of God and Jesus, because it's the people that are giving money to your ministry that you're living off of. It's not because you are just rejecting all donations and gifts and tithes and offerings, and God has allowed wealth to come to you in other ways. No, He's been able to take the money that has been given to the ministry, and He's been able to invest it, flip it, all of the different things so that it can increase, and thereby telling the people who are giving, you give to the church, you give what they say, you give to God now, and God will bless you later. And a lot of people have given their last, they've given their bill money, they've given money that they had set aside for other things. And they say, because they listen to people like him, the garbage that comes out of his mouth, well, yeah, if I give this now, and then they've been threatened and scared by the tactics of using scripture to flip things to make them feel like if they don't give, they're going to be cursed with a curse. They'll use scriptures like Malachi chapter 3, verses 10 through 12. Ask me how I know. I won't even get into all of that. But I'm just thankful that I know the real truth and the things that I've been taught over the years when I was much younger. I don't subscribe to those things anymore because I know the truth. And he's been able to buy a private jet or private jets and live an illustrious lifestyle because the people who have followed his ministry over all of these years, they're giving money to the ministry. It's not because God is just giving him money and he's been able to live a lavish, wealthy lifestyle while a lot of the people that follow him and go to his ministry are struggling. So let's continue. So this is when he blew the wind of God on the C word back in 2020 to get rid of it. And we all know how that worked, right? But let's just go ahead and get into this video real quick.
COVID-19. I blow the wind of God. The wind of God on you. On you. You are destroyed forever. You are destroyed forever. And you'll never be back. A strong, it doesn't have to be a fast wind. Didn't say anything about it being blowing over 40 miles an hour. Don't have to.
Child, this dude is like insane, blowing the wind of God. The wind of God is nowhere near his lips. I do not believe that. Trust and believe. But yeah, let's get into when he said that Satan is a black person or he's black.
Jesus said, I saw the devil fall out of heaven like lightning. Look it up in the book of Isaiah. He was here. And he messed this thing up. I will be like the Most High God. He left his place. And instead of being Lucifer, now he is Satan. Lucifer, son of the morning. Now, I didn't get this from the Lord, but just from reading, I'm convinced that he was Jesus' personal angel. And I'll tell you something else. It says his beauty, he was beautiful, and his pride fell. I am totally, completely convinced he's ebony black. Why? Has the white man, the yellow man, the brown man, anyone been persecuted like the black man? No. Why? Well, the color of the skin. That's what I'm trying to get over to. I'm convinced he was ebony black.
Watch this.
Gorgeous. Have you ever seen ebony, the wood itself and the grain? And he had musical instruments built within him. Everything but the trumpet, that's God's. Phil Driscoll let me know that for sure.
Child, I cannot. I cannot. And here's the thing about it. The Bible describes Jesus, but churches like his and so many others across the nation will never have an image of Jesus portrayed as the Bible describes him. They have him in pictures where he is Caucasian, he's got blue eyes, he's got long, either brunette, light brown hair, or golden locks, right? That's not how the Bible describes Jesus, but this fool wants to sit here and say that Satan was black. This just goes to show you the embedded racist feelings that a lot of these people like him have that are unfortunately so-called leading black people in a ministry, and they don't know what the heck they're talking about. But let's just get into this story about this woman that gave all of this money to this ministry, guys. This is coming from a YouTuber who has a channel by the name of Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson. And I'll put the full video link in the description box. It's pretty lengthy, but I'm just going to play a portion of it and we're going to get into this story. All right, guys. So this is a woman who actually worked at Kenneth Copeland Ministries, and he has a multitude of offices across the world. So I believe she was working in one of the Canada offices. So let's get into this.
That that God allows to forge your character, and that's another topic there about the whole misleading theology and whatnot. But that's sort of the gist of it. Yeah.
So you were in the call center, and one day you get a call from a precious. Would you say an elderly lady?
Yes. Yeah. She called
Okay.
in, really frail voice. She had just come off of watching The Believer's Voice of Victory. Sow your seed and you will get 100-fold. And so she was basically saying, I'm feeling led to sow it all. I think it came to about 90,000. And so I basically, had sort of asked her, are you sure about this? Like, are you not going to need money to live on? Because she was in a retirement home, independent living. And so she was, nope, I'm feeling, I need to sow this seed and putting her faith on it. And so I remember it was like quite a lengthy and kind of complicated transaction in that we had to do it in multiple stages because there was limits on the credit card and how much we could, she could charge at once. But I do recall that, the management was really like quick to assist in that process. And
so they knew this call had come in. How do they know that? Like, there's several people that are on calls, right?
Several people. There's 5 or 6 of us on any given during the day. We're getting multiple calls throughout the day. Yes.
Okay. And then how do they know that you've got somebody wanting to donate $90,000?
Yes, because obviously with that amount, I put her on hold and I said, there's this lady and she's wanting to sow this much money, and it was and then all of a sudden it turned into having to be multiple transactions, and I was just feeling like, should we do this? Like, could we just put a pause on it? Like, I'm just not feeling good about this at all. And so it ended up, I basically want to say to her, don't do it. God is faithful. He'll provide for you. You don't need to sow, your last 2 mites. And so,
which is a lot more than 2 mites, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So an elderly lady feeling like she just heard this exuberant faith word. I want to sow with a promise, really, of reaping, and I'm going to sow everything I have. And did you ask her, like, are you certain, ma'am? Or
I did. Yeah, I did, because I just did not feel good about it. Like, it just was so typical, though, for people to call in after watching the BVOD broadcast, because, as you know, a lot of it is very much, the focus is on the giving and the tithing, and what you can attain and achieve, and how you can live, and for some people, that might not be important, but they just put such an emphasis on it. It almost normalized it to a point that people just assume they just tied their faith to sowing a seed and living their best life, right?
And that's why I want to pause it for a moment, because that's what a lot of them do. It is hypnotic. It is to get people in a trance, if you will, because they will consistently repeat about the giving and how you'll be blessed if you give, if you give, if you give, if you give. and you live prosperous. And I did a video earlier this year that actually TD Jakes Ministries struck, but I won that. I appealed it and won, where I was disgusted with him asking the people to sow a seed of $2,025 for health and prosperity and all this other stuff for the new year because it was their New Year's Eve service. And this is the type of stuff that a lot of these ministries do. And it's always about you giving. And a lot of these people don't have that money to give. Why in the world would they want to even take this woman's life savings? I mean, there should have been some due diligence on the part of the back end of the ministry to do some sort of counseling or something to make sure that this woman was going to be okay. But they don't care about that. They care about them getting what they can get now. And hopefully you'll get what you get later. Maybe something will come through for you. What we're preaching, hopefully it will work out for you where you sow your seed now and you reap a 100-fold blessing later. But they don't really believe that, because if they did, they wouldn't be taking people's money up front either.
Right. So yeah, I remember I went home feeling a certain way. I just felt really sick about it. And I didn't even want to tell anybody because I was kind of embarrassed to say, like, I was thought, who am I going to tell this to? Because they're going to get a really, probably a bad
Who's going
taste.
to be excited about an elderly woman just gave every dime she has to Kenneth
Exactly.
Copeland Ministries,
Exactly.
who's got his planes and
Yes.
his homes,
Absolutely.
multi-million dollars that he brags about, and she's given everything. And
Yep.
it's like, just try telling that story, right? I'll go home over dinner. Yeah, we took everything a lady has. So the other people that were there helping you, did anyone else question this?
No, Laura, there was such a fear mentality in that place. Staff did not question, did not share their, opinions if it was not in alignment with the whole, philosophy of KCM. So that was kind of surprising to me. About 2 days later, I felt like this definitely was probably God wanting me to take the call again to really get some insight as to what.
Because something weird happened. So
Yeah.
calls are random, correct?
Yeah.
It describes. So 2 days later, you
Yes.
get the same lady on the
Yes.
phone.
Correct.
And it would have to be an act of God, would you say, that it literally landed back on the person who had originally taken this money?
Yes, 100%. Yes. And I think because, like, obviously, God knew I was feeling really distraught about it. And so it was, I thought, well, good, this is my chance to have them undo what was done and to make it right. And so thank you, Lord, that I got this call again. And, she had just said to me, I called in, I said, yes, that was me. I spoke to you. And she said, I believe I made a grave mistake. My accountant, I informed my accountant, and he basically, he said, that urgently that I need to get that money back because I really don't have anything to live on. And I said, okay, I understand. And I will get this, I will have a discussion with my supervisor, with my manager, and, we can hopefully get this sorted out. And so I said I would call her back. So when I went in to speak to them, I said, like I was excited, like, okay, we can undo this. She's called back, and her accountant is strongly advising her to recoup what she had sowed. She really needs this money. And then there was some discussion and that they had. And then I remember he called me into his office and he said, oh, you know what, it's too late. There's nothing more we can do. It's already been processed by the CRA. And, whether or not the logistics of that is unknown to me, but I know that the ministry pulled in a lot of money because I took those phone calls. I know the seeds that were sown. So there's got to be some contingency fund and something that, they could just say, we're going to repay this woman back, or I'm sure it could have been reversed. So that was it. I had to give her the news.
So I have a CRA, like I have a registered charity in Canada. And if somebody gives to us and they feel they've given an error, I can write a check back. I'm going to check into that, and so have some answers to you. Perhaps of course you wouldn't get a tax receipt, and adjustments would have to be made. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Right.
So you go and you talk to people and you say we need to give this back, and what's the word?
The word is no.
Just absolutely not. No one. Did anyone have a look of sympathy and like, oh no? Did you have to go to higher management to sort of deal with this, or?
Yeah, it went to the director, and right from the top, David was saying, approved that it was not, we could not return it.
What's his name? What's his full name? I'm sure we could look it up.
David Stiles. Yeah, he was the
David
director,
saw.
yeah, of KCM at the time, yeah.
Mhm.
Yep, and then so, I was dealing with manager, Adam, and so, yeah, it didn't seem, I wish I could say there looked to be, you know,
Concern.
some concern and about the situation and a prompting or, like a quickening for them to wanna, "Let's get on this so that we can get it back to her," and there wasn't. There wasn't. Yeah, it
Even
was.
a payback plan, like, because you know how charities are there to help the poor. So,
Yes.
okay,
Yep.
you know,
Mm,
apparently we've taken everything you have. You know what we're going to do? We're going to make sure that your lodging is taken care of
yep.
as compassion,
Yeah.
compassion ministry, anything like that set up.
Nope. No, nothing that I knew of, and to this day, I mean, I thought about her for a while. I thought, "God, I know you're gonna look after her," but, like, what a distressing thing for an elderly lady to go through at nearing the end of her life, and she's, got so much provision, and then she gets on to this broadcast and hears this message about getting a hundredfold, and, it's almost like there's such an urgency to sow your seed right away, and then there's again, it's like this vending machine, put your tithe money in, and out comes the bar, and you get it immediately, and that's just so misleading. That theology is so wrong.
And that's exactly what it is. Listen, guys, this is so this is so disgusting, and there's nothing funny about it. But this is my personal opinion. This dude is a crook. He's a creep. I mean, look at him. And it sounded like she said that the woman did it in multiple. She gave the money in multiple transactions. She did say a credit card, but I don't know if it was actually a credit card or if it was a debit card. I know with a credit card, you can dispute those transactions. I'm not sure. She said she talked to her accountant, and her accountant said you need to get that money back. I'm not sure if her accountant was able to help her out in some way in later days, weeks, or whatever, to try to get that money back or even sue the ministry for fraud, because what they do with these television ministries, having this stuff on all day, and they know for the most part they're targeting older people. It's similar to Fox News. Fox News is not news at all. It's propaganda. And the majority of the people who watch it are older people. And they listen to everything that these people say as if it is the truth, and they believe it. So you have these people on this stuff like the Kenneth Copeland Ministries saying you need to sow your seed right now. Sow your seed now. God is going to give you 100 fold blessings, all these other things, right? But you all are taking the money and you're using it immediately. You're benefiting from it immediately. But then these people have to give what they have currently to you immediately and hope to get from God later. What in the world is that? It's insanity. It's lunacy, like this lunatic right here. But listen, guys, I want to know what you guys think about this situation. I'm going to have the full video link in the description box so you can watch the whole interview because it's pretty long. But I just wanted to get to the gist of the situation. And this is so disturbing. But trust and believe, this is not the only woman or person who has a story like this. They may not have given $90,000, but I can guarantee you there have been many people that may have given $500, maybe even $100, and they had something else come through their account and their account was negative and they had stuff bouncing. They didn't have enough money to cover their rent or their mortgage or their car payment or something like that. I can guarantee you that. And ministries like this do stuff like this all the time. We've heard the stories of people who have been in ministries, they've given money, they weren't asking for a refund, but they were up on some hard times and they asked the ministry for help and they were turned down. It's just a lot when it comes to stuff like this, and you have people like this, they're living high off the hog, high off of the people. And sometimes it also makes me wonder, do these people even really, and I'm just being honest, I wonder sometimes, do these people even really believe in God like that? Because I'm not saying that people who are working in ministry, who are leading churches and things like that, have to be poor or live like they're homeless. I'm not saying that either. But when you live a life that's so freaking lavish here on earth, and then you keep getting more and more and more and more, do you even really want to go to heaven? because a lot of the things that they say, and I'm not saying that they should want to take their lives so that they could get to heaven sooner, but I just wonder sometimes, because the way that they speak and so-called preach, it's as if they really want to stay here forever, and they really want to live like this forever. They really want it to be heaven here, because they don't really believe they're going to somewhere better later. And the way that these people are living, I pretty much believe that they are not going to somewhere better later because of the things that you're doing, which are terrible. Like you had the president 45/47 recently saying that he wants to save some lives in war because he's hopeful that he can get into heaven. Now you're getting close to the end of your life, which I truly do believe that. And now you're thinking about heaven. And it's like, you, in my personal opinion, you're not deserving of it because you're putting people through hell. But this ain't about him or that. But I just wanted to ask that question. And I really want to know what you guys think. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful. And now I'm going to say bye.